Okay, wonderful. All right. Okay, so welcome back, everyone, and hello to our audience on Zoom. So our first featured reader is Chris Hutchinson. Chris is the author of 5 previous poetry books. He has lived all over North America, from Dawson City, Yukon to Brooklyn, New York, working in brunch restaurants and, more recently, teaching creative writing. He is currently an English faculty member at MacEwan University, located on Treaty 6 territory. Let's welcome Chris to the mic.
Thank you, and thanks to everybody at Planet Earth. I know how hard it is to organize reading. Hi, Steph. I haven't said hi yet. It's great to see so many faces, old friends. I used to live in Victoria. I was a little late today because they moved things around since I've been here last. And I think my Uber driver also suffered from some kind of geographical dyslexia. I'm going to be reading from my latest book, which is Lost Signal. I never really know how to introduce an entire book, but I scribbled something down before I came here, and this is what I scribbled. Lost Signal comes from my anxiety that certain signals from the past, maybe from the future, are not being received, and that there is yet to arise anything new and beautiful from the noise, which is a little cynical, I suppose. But I think from the squelch, from the noise, sometimes music does arise. Something new does arise. I just haven't heard it yet. Lost Signal. Ping me with your promises from decades down the tracks. Sing me off to sleep. Tonight, I'm a surgeon cutting myself open with the virtual edge of this screen. Remember how I died as a child from riches. Poverty, not poetry, brought me back to life. Need came first, then strife, then spirit flooding in, reversed limelight, spilling shadow shapes across the page. Tonight, I'm on a train of thought that follows a famous river into this feeling of mirrors and unread books, into twilight and old usages. You're just radio waves. I'm the touch of a touchscreen away. Please reply before I fall asleep again. Promise to write my name on the crumbling empire's sky with your spire-like pen. This poem begins with a quote from Cicero. In the book, it's in Latin with no translation. For you, I will offer a translation. And it goes something like this. Everything would be more certain and true if the rule was to lie always. And if you look for that quote by Cicero, you won't find it. Don't follow me. Walking this labyrinth and speaking in riddles, I say painting is to vision what memories are to ribbons of scent. Moreover, photography is to light what fishing line is to fast-running waters. Or so said Ansel Adams to Richard Brautigan back when they were never friends. And at the center of sleep, there's dreaming like dancers inside of music. And because you are whispering to yourself, it's dusk again. The horizon, if you must look, is an electrified greenish gold wire. The cottonwoods are lousy with magpies, raucous in their stolen tuxedos, their cries like the creak of old machinery, but less devotional. Their cries like rusted clothesline pulleys screeching under the mundane beauty of the everyday life you left out to dry. Are you with me? This labyrinth offers various pathways and choices. For instance, Either poetry is to language what philosophy is to thought, or the wording of this analogy will lead you to ruinous conclusions. Okay, this is a bit of a longer poem, and it begins with two quotes, epigraphs from the mid-20th century American so-called confessionalist poets, one Robert Lowell and John Berryman. The poem is titled Untitled, in a world called money, beauty, fame. And Robert Lowell once said, "Poets die adolescence." And his friend, John Berryman, said rather adolescently, "The artist is extremely lucky who is presented with the worst possible ordeal, which will not actually kill him. At that point, he's in business." And this is a kind of a persona poem. On day one, Larry the lizard quits smoking and eating saturated crap. Day two, he buys a hard pack of Dunhill King Size on his way to Fatty Patty's Burger Palace. Why? Because the purplish overcast sky has cracked open along the horizon like a cauldron lid, beneath which roils an elvish golden green late July twilight. He's no climatologist, but maybe he's what they call neurodivergent. Maybe he'll shave his eyebrows in order to become less human, more alien to himself, and hence more professionally objective during faculty meetings. On day three, Larry the Liz is tiptoeing in his Jordans up the hill's cranium when he spots the man himself, that Boston Brahmin dressed in a rumpled camel hair overcoat. Yes, it's Robert Lowell, paused along the promenade and leaning out over the guardrail toward the river valley where divisions of darkness are slowly disassembling and reassembling and coming in and out of wispy existence like all of his secret wishes in some after-hours subterranean dive. Thrusting up and away from Daddy Lowell's wilting shoulders, a pair of blue-black blade-shaped wings shimmer and flash in the thickening, ageless, adjectival air. On day four, conjured by the buzz of an awakening sodium lamp, Mr. Skunk Hour's shadow pools at his heels. At first taking the form of a sleeping lion, the shadow quickly morphs into a global financial crisis, then bursts into flame. Our reptilian protagonist shudders. He's no eschatologist, but day five, and Larry, quite contrary, while sipping cherry-flavored mescaline, decides to smoke half a chewed-up Bolivian cigar. But when he does, when he sets the charred nub alight, Bolivia erupts. And yet, the miraculous fact that Larry exists, or that anyone or anything exists, is in and of itself still somehow not enough. Dear reader, here is the ironical part. Familiarity with himself via the chronic introspection which his vocation both feeds and aggravates has made our chameleon hero virtually invisible to himself, and now, staring into his vintage empire mirror, he sees only what's most tragically obvious, namely the sheer sum total of all he is not, which is a lot. For example, he isn't rich, beautiful, or famous. Not yet. Not yet. Day 6. After reviewing and mulling over his progress, then chowing down on a whole package of crinkle-cut oven fries, plain old Larry admits that tomorrow it's back to day 1. Meanwhile, the sky's lid is pressing down again with the weight of a 6th mass extinction. It's about to steal him away, seal him in for good, along with his very next decision or his inability to make a decision. More than ever, Larry feels an endless series of lead sinkers dragging him under all the years he can't or won't endure. But, dear onlooker, dear fetishist of the woefully obscure, here's the unwritten, until now, truth. If words fell from trees, then money would be useless, and beauty and fame would become a kind of homelessness made entirely of starlings whipping and weaving above all the empty parking lots of eastern Massachusetts. Meanwhile, that neurasthenic ghost, levitating on the ballpoint tips of his knife-edged wings, pivots and transforms into the shadow of his friend, the poet, John Berryman. The dream songs, dreamers, dark eyebrows leap into space as he steps over the guardrail, urged by force, older than gravity, and waves. Okay, I got two more to go. They're short-ish. Against translation. Never move to a village where the women speak Old Gaelic in their sleep. Instead, drift along inside this animal skin boat, framed in wickerwork, and say the weeping willows are the river's veiled brides, or say they're not, and bow to every green impulse to plunge into the lyrics' declensions, which is to say, learn to read the image behind the antique symbol. Sure, the river is pure, unbraided muscle, though only when thought of from afar or from a fear of the virtuosic turns your dream invents against your will, but for your betterment by all these mazy ways of suffering. Such fear is justified and, like a marriage, can't easily be undone. So, as the village floods with breath, soft as bed sheets warmed from sleep, be sure to choose more modern idioms, but speak them only to yourself, unconjugated, inside your coracle. And I will read one final poem. No, actually, you know what? I won't. I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Our next featured reader is Stephanie Roberts. Stephanie is the author of Rushes from the River Disappointment, a finalist for the A.M. Klein Prize for Poetry. Her work has been widely featured and anthologized in Poetry, Event Magazine, Arc Poetry Magazine, Crannóg Magazine, Atlanta Review, the League of Canadian Poets, New York Quarterly, and elsewhere. Her work also won the 64 Best Poets of 2018. Born in Panama, she grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and has lived most of her life in Quebec. Let's welcome Stephanie to the mic.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. My thanks to Planet Earth Poetry and Kieran, the artistic director of Planet Earth Poetry, Russell Books for this lovely facility, Biblioasis, my publisher and supporter and promoter of Unmet. For some reason, it's not in my biography that I'm the author of Unmet by Biblioasis Books, which came out this year, and which I'm mostly going to be reading from. This is my first time in Victoria, and I've been looking forward to this since before Unmet was published. Thinking of journey, I recall a friend of mine who once told me that the people who say that the journey is more important than the destination are people who haven't taken the time to articulate the importance of destination. And when she said that, I thought, yeah, that seems, really valid, but probably because of the confidence with which she said it. But when I thought about it, I began to disagree, because most of life is journey. That's where we live. And the journey is where we spend most of our life. And as I formed this collection, I saw unmet desire as the engine that propelled journey toward destination. When I speak of desire, I don't just mean romantic love or lust, but also the energy that brought us that awesome auditory component of your traffic signals, the discovery of insulin and the treatment of diabetes. And it's a desire that will hopefully in the future bring the cure for cancer. In my first collection, Rushes from the River Disappointment, which I'm going to read one poem from tonight, I concentrated on romantic relationship, but in unmet, I expand that focus to include unmet justice and rescue. This afternoon when I read, someone said, oh, I wish you'd read from Rushes, so this is to honor that request. I never tire of the moon. A low sliver, silver they say, so long and goodbye against the growing violet felt. It seemed to hurt the sky by twin fire of emphasis and opposition. Crescent, comma, scimitar. It was all of these things and none. It was a seizure of the mind, it was. Time travel, extrasensory perception, aliens, God's fallen lash, and Lucifer's lopsided smile, flaming down the night. I sent a prayer, are you seeing this? Thankfully, we share the same sky, if little else. Ice shacks on a partially frozen river skirt measured disaster. I wanted to run home along our fault line, tell you all about it, like a bloodhound retrieves a hare, lays it, noses the fork of your stance, slobbers joy, hungry for my happiness. This poem was first published in Poetry Magazine. Lady Fine is for sugar. My grandmother believed in it. Delicate laugh, perfectly pressed blouse, not shirt, and proper grammar billowing it out. You are well, not fine. Fine is for sugar. Shorthand typing, secretarial position with some florid-faced boss drew success. My mother stormed like rain, teen pregnancy, loud laugh, bellicose, swore freely in front of her children. I am the sky that could fall either way. Lady passé in enduring mythology, I feel some sort of way over Cardi B, precisely because she levitated up a stripper pole like a fucking phoenix against the stench of respectability politics. Like a motherfucking phoenix through the ceiling, burning on the hydrogen of unwavering respect bricks of dollar signs gain, plush in the same country where Abuela believed you had to play the lady game. Star-spangled fantasy. My mother knew the danger, the voice that can't be heard. The suspect testimony of that pressed blouse. Flesh tone foundation obscures black and blues. White Peter Pan collar, crossed ankles, the I'm well, thank you. Nothing of the Month Club. This poem was inspired by my friend, the poet Jeff Alessandrelli, whose book, For Not Light, features a section called Nothing of the Month Club. And when I turned and read that, it just blew my mind, and it inspired me to think of what would that club look like? Nothing of the Month Club. Wearing a lightweight twill jacket, a woman walks out the door with her life. She deposits the key in a snow-coated storm drain and keeps it moving. Better the exchange of 100,000 the bank requires for nothing. She goes and thinks ghosting is alchemic poetry. the invisible comes concrete. For years, husband, family, a lover have all passed through her. She pulls desire by its ears, wriggling right out of her hat. She removes nose ring, vermeil necklace, bracelets, anklets, and excuses herself from the offer of a well-picked-over buffet. Every month let nothing new be delivered me. Zero be my center. If I have learned nothing from this life, I've learned to be grateful for what I have not. On Canal Street, her husband shuffles 3 cards. Keep your eye on the queen, he says over and over. Skin. Turkey gravy cold in its carafe. Congealed tarp floats old latte, bookmark for sinking memory. Chlorella pools the stagnant loop of river we paddled through on less jaded days. We floated on our backs, scratching mosquito bites, lily pads and water striders kin, gelatinous thin. Tread surface semi-terrified of depth. Under I come nose to nose against my own bloated body. And how to let out our stitches while keeping intestines in. Black bear rug lay, blue snake boot kick, wolf wears scarlet wool hoodie, our goose-fleshed listening. Look, a smile doesn't reach the eyes. The Good Samaritan's empathy ruins the attempted leap from a bridge. Public posts of devotion or longing are licked raw by reptilian thirst. Chalk outlines paisley the entire floor. Being skinned is how we coat love, what we keep trying to pull off. Entanglement. This poem is inspired by quantum physics. There is another world in this one, Octavio Paz. Somewhere off the coast of Orange County, California, the grandest animal that has ever lived swims tangled in a fishing line. In a parallel universe, Kalila, a blue whale, swallows krill without joy. Something in her whispers, Mississippi, feeds disenchantment with the ocean and hostility to her mate. Her Moby wears crown and envy of all the pods in the low seas. Alarmed by the baseless nature of this disquiet, unsure of her options, she wanes in despondent drift. Somewhere, an emotionally distant father enjoys a crab salad sandwich. He does not wear a wife beater. He's armored in a crisp Oxford, white with blue lines. In Ottawa, on the 4th floor, near the rear atrium of the Canadian Museum of Nature, I sit in the chamber of a blue whale's heart weeping. A distress call sounds on repeat, tugging bone, tearing me apart. Maybe it's Kalila, or a nameless whale of our own making. Maybe it's the crabman's son. Somewhere in front of a vintage Smith Corona, my love knits a poem on the tinkerings of spiders and the freedom of flight. In him, the word clutch nests painfully, a clogged artery. We spin the same careless speed in opposite directions. We tunneled ambivalent barriers that should have kept us apart. We are leashed in our longing by a mortgage without end. The rest. We don't know what we will be made of. I think I am approaching sea star or octopus, marine mercurial, beaked. You are canine loyal, panting at heel. We don't have many certainties, but this I do know, this I've already seen. You, open to me like a thick hardcover fall to great height. Pages rippling, gabble, desperate for understanding, yet incomprehensible. I catch you. A wind ruffles the sides of passing motorcyclists in spring chambray denim. You steer our trajectory. Your luck is the red light ahead. A kind of ache eases off the cracked tooth removed. titanium screw, then crown. I am behind you, arms around your belly, living tenere. I, a bit tired, a bit worked over by your bundle of hope thrown in my lap, your long withheld release, precious wonder wrapped in the poisons of the past. This is the penultimate poem. Does anyone know what penultimate means? Blush. White folks think we can't. He brought it on himself, said because Citizen knew his rights and tried to insist on the content of his character, which will be cobbled together from shadowed slants of his past, during her trial, after they dig her slugs from what remains of his black matter. He stated the facts of being stopped without cause, and I felt at that moment the weight claws its way up my cheeks. With hands at 2 and 5, 2 and 10, the citizen asked that a supervisor be present. On Saturday, even God put down his Glock to thank himself, but every day is the creation of man for the skinfolk. Together, officers murmur a type of black mass while his dashboard cam records, I am a licensed gun owner. I have a licensed gun in the trunk and I do not feel safe. I don't feel safe, son, baritone, alto, soprano. A tenor such that my fair cheeks flare, hotter than white men's sins. When the guttural bass of the officer's get out of the car drops, the minute citizen's alphabet goes S-T-U-V-W-X-Y. She pulls her service revolver and marries it to his temple. And I'm humiliated to see myself see this, as you also have seen. We see this one and the innumerable ones. I imagine in a more kind time a body cam museum, like our memory of peace and justice. These folks think we can't blush, have less lung capacity, that an oximeter works the same way on our fingers, that an algorithm can't discriminate, but they're wrong. We blush at all of it. It starts in the kettle of our bellies and it burns like ethanol flames up the tide of Black history. I want to throw up when White says about the phrenology of his magnetic head, he brought it on himself. Deadly embarrassment. You think you know your rights when you don't know your place. The unmet. Your obit contains, beloved by this poet, Moon, I promise you. Thank you.